We might want Fiesta for bossing. Or not. Yo guys, what is up? Max on our first Descendant video, and today we're going to be going over my guide to the Ancient Knight. Now, the Ancient Knight is a new weapon that dropped in Season 2, Episode 2, or Update 2, and it is, in my opinion, one of the best assault rifles that we've ever gotten. Not that we have a lot of good assault rifles in the game anyways, but the Ancient Knight can do some really cool things. It is a little bit weird to build, as it is kind of one of the first weapons that we've gotten that really focuses on the new mechanic of multi-hit. So we're going to be breaking down not only the best mods and things to use on the Ancient Knight, but also some really important keys for building a multi-hit weapon. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. Let's get right into it. So let's start by talking about the weapon's unique ability, Descending Judgment. By the way, this weapon is very much specifically designed for Serena. It is like her weapon, and so she has a ton of synergies with it. If you're going to use this on another Descendant, you totally can, but you're going to be missing out on a lot of its best features. So to start, when you're in the air, if you reload, you're going to get Float, which increases your effective range. So your like damage range, you'll be able to hit people for max damage on the weapon from further away. And you also have a 10% chance on hit to recover 2% of your health. This weapon spews bullets, so you can actually use it to heal quite a bit, which is nice. But what we really care about with this thing is Atonement. Now, Atonement triggers off of multi-hits with our current build on Serena. We have more than 100% chance to multi-hit while we're in the air, which we'll talk about in a second. But Atonement is going to be building up multi-hit damage, and this multi-hit damage, this like 7.7 is multiplicative, so it is a lot of multi-hit damage, and it only resets when you hit the ground. So it's not like it resets every time you have to reload the weapon. Once you shoot your like full mag, you will have Atonement, and your Atonement can stay fully stacked with your huge multi-hit damage increase. So I'm currently like on the ground with Serena, so none of our buffs are active. I just kind of want to real quick go over what multi-hit chance and damage really are, just so you can have an idea, an understanding of how they work, because they are new stats and I haven't made a video on them. So multi-hit chance, the tooltips are actually pretty good for this. Multi-hit chance refers to a firearm's multi-hit chance. When a firearm hits, it deals additional damage based on that chance. Whenever the multi-hit chance exceeds 100%, it guarantees one additional hit and has a chance to trigger additional multi-hits equal to the value above 100%. So with this weapon, we're going to be sitting at around 118% multi-hit chance. That means every time we fire, we're going to hit twice, and we have an 18% chance to hit a third time, which is awesome. So you can build above 100% multi-hit chance, and the multi-hit chance does not apply to unique weapon, unique effects of ultimate weapons, or pickup weapons. And then we get to multi-hit damage. Multi-hit damage is pretty easy to understand. Basically, it's the multiplier that we're going to get whenever a gun does trigger a multi-hit, with a flat value of 1 being a multi-hit that is dealing full damage. So, for example, the Fallen Hope is an AR that has a 1 multiplier for multi-hit damage. So anytime that you multi-hit on that, you're going to be dealing double damage. With this weapon, we're going to be getting a ton of multi-hit damage and guarantees on everything. So, like, think of this weapon almost as like it's going to be critting on every shot, and all of those shots are going to be dealing like 4 times damage. However, the benefit of multi-hit, as opposed to other things, is multi-hit can trigger additional stuff. So it has like additional utility. Next up, for the weapon's base stats, it has a crit rate of 3%, a weak point multiplier of 1, attribute trigger rate of 4.3, and a crit multiplier of 1.2. So basically, this gun is not good at building crit, and it's not great at building weak point, and it's not really good at triggering status effects. So how we're going to be building this thing is for raw firearm attack as well as elements. But the big thing that we're really going to be focusing on is multi-hit damage. We want our multi-hits to be proccing on every shot. We want those multi-hits to be dealing a ton of damage. So to go over our first build, this is our like general use build. Now, I do want to mention one thing on this weapon in terms of its sockets is it comes with 2 like triangle sockets, and it's definitely apparent that they wanted you to build this gun for fire damage. For example, you could fill these 2 slots, which what I did with fire priority to give us more firearm attack, and then fire enhancement, and obviously Serena is a fire descendant, and I think that's what they were going for with these 2 sockets. However, currently, there really isn't much relevant content or enemies that are weak to fire damage. next season, we're getting the like Ice Maiden boss, and I think this is going to be a fantastic fire weapon to take her out. But until we get relevant content that like really you need a really powerful fire weapon, I did build this thing for chill against my own will, because really like chill is just super important. Right now, it's really important to have a chill weapon and a toxic weapon. If you have a really good chill weapon and a toxic weapon, you're pretty much covered on all the endgame content that you need to be running right now. So for this thing, we're going to be building rifle, reinforcement, and action reaction. These are going to be giving us our increased firearm attack. Then we're going to be running our 2 elemental mods, chill enchantment and chill priority for a bunch of chill damage. Then we're going to be using the there's a bunch of multi-hit mods. We're going to be using the ones that decrease your critical hit damage, and the multi-piercing sight, which increases your critical hit damage. Once again, this weapon has horrible crit chance, so it'd be bad to build it for crit. So we can totally take this loss in crit damage and build up 30% more multi-hit chance and 70% multi-hit damage. Note that there is another multi-mod called multi-piercing trigger, which gives you like 30% multi-hit damage and some multi-hit chance. This is solid, but multi-piercing sights does slightly beat it out in terms of our DPS average with the weapon. And then lastly, we're going to be using charge amplification, bunch more firearm attack. Once again, we don't care about crit damage. Fire rate up, obviously standard, needed on every weapon. And then we're going to be using multi-bullet here. Multi-bullet on landing a multi-hit, which is every single shot. We're going to be stacking more multi-hit damage. This is our 15% multi-hit. And we get deep wounds, which we don't care as much about, but it is a nice little bit of extra damage. And then lastly, we've got expand weapon charge. Now, there are a few options here instead of expand weapon charge if you wanted to specifically make the gun a little bit stronger in certain scenarios. I find that because we're going to be rocking 2 fire rate cores, you are going to want a mag size. It's just quality of life. It's going to allow you to have more DPS uptime, and even on Serena, you're going to have to spend less time dashing. But if you wanted to take this off and just squeak out some more damage out of it, for bossing, you could put in like, one of these mods. There's a fair bit of options. For mobbing, which I think this weapon is also pretty solid at, you could go for sweeping squad. You could go for a straight up weak point mod here. And get like 35% increased damage on hitting shoulders. With its fire rate, for example, on bossing, we were messing around with using Firing Fiesta, just so you can have that full mag spray and not have to reload, and kind of like 1 mag bosses. There is a bunch of options here. Just because of the quality of life, we ended up going expand weapon charge, though. If you don't go 2 fire rate cores, you could definitely get away without using this. But with 2 fire rate cores, both pretty close to 20%, I definitely recommend mag size. Now, I do want to give a call out real quick to multi-circulation. This is like a bit like Passionate Sponsor in that it is a buff that activates when you buff your allies. And if you're playing Serena in co-op, this is going to allow you to get a ton of multi-hit damage, which is very, very nice. And it activates if you're using him. So if you're going to be using this in co-op or running with other people, I'd actually take off multi-bullet, in my opinion, and run the multi one that I'm blanking on the name now, multi-circulation, to get even more multi-hit damage than multi-bullet. But obviously, if you're not going to be playing in co-op, then this does absolutely nothing. I did test this. It doesn't proc off of self buffs. It only does proc off of procking on your allies. And so just a little option there if you do plan on playing co-op with her. For the cores on the weapon, obviously, if you are going to keep it being fire, I would just go for fire attack instead of chill there. But for the other cores, we're going to be rocking dual fire rates. Fire rate is incredibly potent when it comes to increasing a weapon's DPS. Then we're going to be rocking 2 firearm attacks and obviously our elemental increase. I rolled over 1,000 mats trying to reroll this thing's base attributes, and I just couldn't get what I wanted. I've never had such terrible luck with a single weapon in the game trying to get like the implicit rolls on it. But for the like implicits, you're going to want firearm attack, bonus firearm attack versus Legion of Darkness. That is, at least if you're going to be using it in Void Erosion, chill attack, or fire if you're going to be using it as fire. And then I think the last one, I'd personally go with weak point or mag size. Mag size probably beats out weak point a little bit, but both would be good. But the big things are firearm, damage to darkness, and your chill or fire if you plan to use that element. For the inversion reinforcements that I was using, we were using aerial maneuvering raider for the increased multi-hit chance while you're in the air. Note that this is a bit deceptive. It's not actually a 100% increase, but it is still a multi-hit increase, and we want as much multi-hit chance as we can possibly get while playing on Serena because we can double hit. And then for like mobbing, aka like void erosion, on Serena specifically, I would use biodensity augmentation. This stacks up 55% more HP, which is fantastic. We scale a lot of our damage off of HP, and then use your elemental mod of choice, whatever content you're going against. So void erosion 30, you'd be using chill. For bossing specifically, this biodensity augmentation isn't going to work because you're not defeating multiple enemies before you fight a boss. So I would simply swap this personally for strike point amplification. This means that whenever we're going to be landing weak points, we can get, or sorry, whenever we're landing multi-hits, we get weak point damage. And every time that we shoot, we're going to be hitting a multi-hit. And so this is a nice little buff to have for like, you know, bossing. And then for like specifically mobbing, I would use biodensity augmentation. For the Arche Tuning board, normally a weapon wouldn't require a different board than normal, but this is one of the few weapons that will really heavily invest into multi-hit chance and damage, and so for that, we have a slightly different board for it. Specifically for Serena, we're going to be pathing and grabbing all of the HP that we can, as well as enhanced max shield, because for void erosion, we're going to be running overwhelming HP to convert our shield into HP. So this is extra HP for us. This is extra HP. This is extra HP. And then we want to path over to enhanced multi-hit. This is 12% more chance, 7% multi-hit damage. We can also grab enhanced multi-hit chance for 5% more multi-hit, and then multi-hit damage for 5% more multi-hit damage. We also get some extra things on the way. Note that you could technically path up to the right here because these are reload nodes, and reload nodes don't really do anything for us, especially if we're playing Serena. But the only thing that you gain from going up through the top is accuracy, and I do think that the multi-hit chance of 5% here is way more valuable than firearm attack here. Technically, you could lose the shield nodes here and then path up to aimed and then back down and then across, but I would much rather have more HP than more accuracy while we're aiming, and so this is the board that we settled up on. Guys, that's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. I will catch y'all in the next one. Take care. Peace.